Hey, welcome to Text Me When You Outside, the podcast celebrating the past and present leaders of nightlife, live entertainment, and hospitality. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon McEachern, followed by my co-host,
Marcus Allen.
Let's get it going. Welcome back to Text Me When You Outside, the podcast. One of the things, Mark, that people are definitely going to be curious about is like, what type of guests will we probably bring on this show? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we talking about promoters and things of that nature, but can you give us some insight on what type of people we will be having on our podcast here?
I mean, I think, even before like guests, let's talk guests, but I think like what we even here for, like what the fuck is this even about? Right. So I think it's, we in an interesting position because, we've been in this live event promoter life, you know what I mean? Where we got a chance to meet a lot of different people from people who do what we do, from the concerts and the festivals, to people who nightclub mavens, you know what I'm saying?
So my bad to interrupt you, but to give you a backdrop on who we are, Marcus and I started a festival called the Broccoli City Festival in the Washington, D.C. area. But to Marcus's point, we've been doing parties for forever. You know what I mean? And one of the things that we've seen in the scheme of, all these podcasts that have, arisen in the last, year and a half, 2 years, is that nobody has really touched on nightlife or anything of that nature from the promoter's perspective. You know what I mean? Like, we often hear about rappers all the time. You hear about businessmen or athletes all the time, but you never hear about these folks that galvanize and bring people together. So that was really the backbone of why we started this. And to Marcus,
cats is important. Go ahead. They important to the towns. They super important. Like the cats that's got the restaurants that you trying to get the resi at.
Yeah.
The cats is doing the nightlife, that's owning all the clubs. Like, these cats is important. Like, you can't be mixy without these cats. Like, if you getting money, it's no way for you to even spend no money without these people existing. Like, you can go buy cars, you can go buy real estate, but it's like, in terms of hospitality, like, it's key.
Now, me and you were from Greensboro, North Carolina. You know what I mean? So I love to ask you, and you can ask me if you want to, King, but like, I love to ask you, how did you get into this game? Like, I've known you my whole life, but I'm even curious on how did you get into the promoter game, or when did you feel like, oh, I'm actually a promoter out here? You know what I mean? Like,
I really hate how you say that though.
I hate that word. Okay, go ahead.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So I'm going to tell you how I end up getting into the game. So my mom's cool with a guy who owned a pawn shop called Fast Cash. And he's an OG in the town. Alvis, he's an OG in Greensboro.
Oh, yeah, I know the name.
People out there wouldn't know him. And the location where Fast Cash was at. So backstory, I would go to the pawn shop in the summertime and my moms would let me go get stuff. And then Alvis would be like, you know what I mean? Would just give like, yo, whatever, like go get whatever. So like I ended up that's how I used to get all the video games. You know what I'm saying? I used to be through Alvis, you know what I'm saying? So like, from the Neo Geos to the Dreamcast, like, even if I was like, oh, I don't really like this, I would just take that joint back up there. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, get to the point. It ain't to the point because it's a podcast, so you can say whatever.
Yeah.
But, so where that location was at, he ends up knocking down the pawn shop and building a building called Alexander Devereaux's.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, that's where we at. Okay, cool.
And so from him having that space and me just watching him have that shit was just always like, that's interesting. And then once I got to college at A&T, that became, that's like a natural thing. That's
North Carolina A&T, for those of you who ain't around where we from, historically black college, one of the biggest and most, one of the best ones, and we to keep it real. I'm gonna be 100 with you.
For sure.
But go ahead, my bad.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
that's
giving
how.
post
That's
context.
how, right? And so
Oh,
it's like when school starts, you in college, everybody like, oh, who can get a
so
party?
you
Like,
threw parties in school, in college?
later on, though. Like later on.
It's interesting. I didn't know that, son. I know you my whole life, and I knew you threw parties in college, but like, when was this? Like freshman year, nigga? You was doing
Nah,
the
hell nah. It wasn't freshman year. It was probably more like junior, senior time. You know what I mean? Because you gotta think, you remember I'm living with ill feel. I'm like, that's like senior year.
interesting though. That's interesting. So for me, I went to North Carolina Central University, which marketing was in Greensboro at A&T, and I was in Durham, which was like 45 minutes away. I want to say my first time doing a party, and Mark, I know you remember this, was Why Not Wednesdays.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Why Not Wednesdays
Venue
at
was trash. No, really.
whatever. So in North Carolina Central, we used to have Chicken Wednesdays. You know what I'm saying? At the school. And that's when they would serve chicken and all that. So, black folks and black kids, they mad hype when it's chicken. So everybody went to the calf on that day. And I was
Wow, you
already
were
like,
really talking about chicken. I thought that was like an acronym.
nah, not for the bread, nah, for chicken. So,
Damn, UNC Central. That
oh
was
my
tough.
God.
That
So
was
I
tough
was
time.
already a social cat, right? By nature, right? Like, so I like the way you pulled that all the way back, Mark. So my mama, you know what I mean? School teacher, lady in the church, my pops, he in the church, at the bank. So I come from that, talking, what's up? What's good? You know what I mean? My older brother actually was a DJ. You know what I mean? So like, I remember hearing those records, the Craig Mack records, this, that to the third, you know what I mean? Growing up. So I was hip on, music and bringing people together yet again, because I saw my mama do it at the church. So that was a part of, I think, my kind of coming up too. So it's dope that our moms is a both. Shout out to Miss Hilda, Marcus's mom, and shout out to Brenda. You know what I mean? My mama. But when I got to school, my man was a part of the Bombavant camp, which was like the fashion troupe at Central. You know what I'm saying? So he had reached out like, yo, B, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to do something after, one of their little fashion shows. So I had got with my other man, Son, I think it was Son, and Son connected me to this venue. I don't even remember like who the people was. I remember it was like a bar guarantee, and we'll dig into all that, Mark. Bar guarantees, door, are you getting payment from the door, whatever the case may be. So anyway, created this joint called Why Not Wednesdays. We would go to the FedEx. I would go to the FedEx and print out them flyers. You remember the flyers that would be like on this type color paper? It'd be like, you don't remember those in college? It'd be like the single color flyer. You know what I mean? But anyway, that was my first time doing promotion.
You talking about the joints that you got from Kinko's for the
Kinko's.
lowest possible amount? Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Go print those out, put them all through the campus. But Why Not Wednesdays was a thing. You know what I mean? Shout out to anybody who went to North Carolina Central.
In that early phase, tell me about like the college parties that were happening at that time. Like, was there any college parties that was like, oh, this is popping? Like, what was the inspiration, or was the money the inspiration?
That's a great question. For me, it wasn't the money. For sure, it wasn't the money, which it should have been. But at the time, it was very. What's your man name? Mark. It was Lil Jon. This was Lil Jon time. This was like crunk time. You know what I'm saying? All that. And I remember at this time in North Carolina, I mean, oh my God, you could smoke cigs in the club. Cats got blackened mouths in the club. You know what I mean? It was just a vibe. And for Central, I didn't see like a hierarchy, if that made sense to you. I don't know what y'all saw at A&T, but I didn't see like a VIP person and like a regular person at those parties. Like, it was all just vibes. Now, granted, you did have the money cat, and 9 times out of 10, if you know anything about Durham, North Carolina, then that money cat came from a certain, you know what I mean? Like, he was about that life. So I remember seeing like local people. Anyway, we can get into all that later.
I feel like at that time, 2003, 4, 5.
Yeah.
I remember cats like maybe having bottles and like some champagne, but I don't remember like definitely like cats walking around with bottles of champagne. But I don't the culture of bottle service sections. I don't think had really reached North Carolina at that point in that time period. It may have been. I think it was happening in Atlanta, but it definitely was not happening in North Cat.
No, that's a
Um,
good one. That's a good one. And also, too, my bad, I had to Google real quick, but 2003, and I'd love for you to share your story about the first time you heard In the Club from 50 Cent, because that was the song of that year. You know what I mean? Which is interesting.
Yo, the 50 Cent in the club, like I think for sure I got a chance to be a part of some really random moments, but I think the 50 Cent in the club situation was probably one of the more interesting ones. Um,
Mm.
in New York City, I'm with Ill Phil, Harlem. You know what I mean? It's me, our other man's Wes. Some kind of way, Wes ends up on a run with us, and we're in the car. I remember we smoking Dykeman Purple Haze from 125th.
Yeah, this
You know
guy's
what I'm
crazy.
saying? Like 125th and Broadway. Anybody who knows Harlem Uptown, you definitely know motherfucking the 125th. Was it 125th, 145th, whatever? Harlem fucking Purple Haze. We're riding around and Funk Flex is like, yo, new joint 50 Cent in the club, and he runs this shit back, right? It was the illest moment because everybody got it at the same time, but it only had reached New York City. Like there was no internet like that. So the fact that like it was truly a world premiere in the literal sense. Where like, you know, now when niggas say it's a world premiere, cats got pre-sales, people get it. So it's like it's never really a world premiere. Like this was a world premiere. Funk Flex runs this shit back. We didn't hear the verse for like 30 minutes because it kept
Just doing the
running back
bombs.
the first
Bomb,
like
bomb,
10 seconds. You know what I mean?
bomb.
It's
Yeah,
like he cutting it, like it's going crazy. And what was the ill part about this shit was, and this was like a big, like this was just like hip hop moment for me, was like we're smoking and the windows are down, and everybody is listening to this shit. Everywhere we're driving around New York City in the summertime, everybody had that joint playing.
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like it was just like such an ill moment of like, yo, this hip hop shit, just like this whole thing is like big. You know what I mean? Like that was big.
Yeah, and going back to your question about like the scene or the club scene at that time, like I remember people dancing though, bro. I remember people dancing, hip hop. It's lit. Like you're not thinking about being cute. At least, I mean, obviously you being fly. You got your shit on, but I just remember people having fun. I remember getting danced on the wall. You know what I mean? When you play the wall, and like I remember that energy. And to your point, I don't recall bottles and all that. I don't think I recall that until
Later.
you know what I mean, later on in life. Like and I guess we'll definitely dive into that at
Yeah,
some point.
nah.
But yeah, the energy in the club was different, man. It was a super duper vibe. So let me ask you this, Mark. When you started doing your parties, I'm interested in like how you went about getting people to come there. Like for me, like I told you, we printed out the flyers. I would put them in people's dorm. You know what I mean? I would drive around, put them in the dorm. I would hit all the parking lots, slide them in cats' joints. I learned that. Shout out to my brother Block. I remember going to Atlanta at a young age and putting out flyers for his Jamaican big homie. Shout out to my man Greg, his dad. You know what I mean?
I think my shit really started out more so from the perspective of facilitating people getting venues because I was from Greensboro.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
So like a broker in a sense. They
Yeah,
knew, like, oh, Mark from the town.
I position myself more as like a broker because I knew a lot of the people who had spots. You know what I mean? Like, we growing up, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I've been here. So like, I don't know exactly who owns it, but it's like, oh, well, so and so dad owned that building, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is. And so like that's kind of how I position to get into it. And then I would just make a little something, but it would be like more so like, oh, you know, the Qs and the Deltas want to do a party, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you kind of just helping to facilitate joints like that.
Yeah.
I just looked though. This is what's so crazy. So All Star Weekend Atlanta was in 2003. That was February 2003. What's ill about that, going back to like that time period, that was the first time I'd ever seen like what VIP really is. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Janet, JD, they in there. We had Visions, you know, AG Entertainment. You know what I mean? Like Block is there, Phil is there. Like this is legend shit. 2003 Atlanta.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, I remember that shit. Yeah. No, I get it.
BMF. This fucking like this is no, hold on. This is after BMF, but just still like this Jeezy. Like this is go time. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
Jeezy time. It was a Jeezy time coming up.
we was in we were in Visions. They had the all glass VIP, and I remember walking past the VIP with Hef, right?
Rest in
With
peace.
Hugh Hef, and we looked through the glass, and Janet and JD in there with the all white minks. You know what I'm saying? Because it was kind of cold outside a little bit, and I was just looking like, and you couldn't get in there. It was hella security, and I was like,
It's funny you say that because I remember going to Atlanta in those times and seeing people in a above area, or you know what I mean? The seating was off, like, and just like, oh snap. And you know, the type of cats we was and who we was with, you just assume you supposed to be in that area. And shout out to my brother and them for honestly getting Mark and I in those areas at that time. You know what I mean? We had the company, the Goodfellas.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do remember that. I think I helped, or maybe you did that logo or whatever. But we definitely had a logo, the Goodfellas, which was dope.
What year that was. That was probably like 2006, maybe 5. Because Wes was working at A&T at the time, and he was the one who kind of helped facilitate it. His pops, shout out to Willie. He was at T at that time, so we had a lot of leverage over there. You know what I'm saying? So we the SGA, we partnered with the SGA.
And then what happened? Tell us about it. Tell us about.
Yo, that shit. Yo, actually, you know what? The fucking rain. Yo, you remember that shit?
It did rain.
Yeah,
wow, it did rain.
It didn't just rain. That shit hailed.
Wow. And if anybody knows Broccoli City, then that's hilarious. You know what I mean? For those watching.
I just recently told somebody the story about you going to LA. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember. So to set it up though, like, it's like, you know, everybody like, yo, be going to LA. You know what I'm saying? And like, respectfully, in Greensboro, North Carolina, to go to LA was like, that shit was like, oh, you'll never see, like, B's gone. Like, you'll never see B again. Like, it was like, yo, basically like, it's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was so foreign, and it just was so not even like a real thing.
For sure.
That it was like unfathomable that he would be doing it. And it was also too, like, as a black person, like conservative, like regular black person family, and knowing like people who know your family were saying, how the hell is Brenda and Het letting this nigga go to California? Like, are they crazy? Like what in the world is wrong with them? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was so uncharted.
Yeah. And to that point real quick, I want to just go back, right, to like at least what events did for me, right? Like, events let me know that like I could make shit happen. You know what I mean? Like during the planning phase or whatever, what have you, because after you did that joint, the vote joint, shout out to my man, Keon Brown, you know what I'm saying, that went to North Carolina Central. He actually just passed away, you know what I'm saying, this year, man. So shout out to his family, my man, KB. I'll never forget KB. KB was the president of the SGA at the time. And we in the dorms and all that. And everybody know, like, B, I'm the one. You know what I'm saying? I'm the coolest cat out. And I remember him coming to me saying, yo, I love for you to do the special events for the SGA. You know what I mean? And I remember us playing in a couple events or whatever. But going back to the LA move, it let me know that I could make stuff move. Like doing that stuff with him, having those conversations with older adults, them listening to you, you being able to go and do a site visit and all that type of stuff. Like, I think it's really empowering for young people when they start doing that. You know what I mean? Because for me, it definitely was something empowering. And it let me know, like, if I reach out to somebody, they'll reach back. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of young kids do have that DIY mentality now, which I do think is dope. But I think at the time that me and Marcus is talking about, it wasn't necessarily like that. You know what I'm saying? Like people you wasn't just emailing or calling people asking them to do a walkthrough at a venue. Like you just wasn't doing that. But going back to your point about California, yeah, bro, like, you know, I had been watching Entourage. Shout out to all my Entourage babies. I know there's a lot of Entourage babies watching this. Entourage birthed a lot of us, you know what I mean, in terms of like having that ambition. So shout out to HBO, period. You know what I'm saying? HBO at that time, fucking goated, bro. Like I forgot what else came on, but like The Sopranos, all that shit was during the time of Entourage.
Yeah,
and you had that 30 minutes on Sunday.
Night? Was that Sundays or
it was
Friday
Sunday, nigga.
Sunday
It was Sunday, I think. 30 minutes on Sunday, and you get to see Vinny and Turtle and these cats actually make their dreams come true and being from Queens, and then me and Marcus, you know, instance being from North Carolina. Like, yo, man, I started getting that, man. Fuck that, yo. I can do this shit attitude. You know what I mean? Like I can, you know what I mean? Fuck that. I had a homegirl who lived in Los Angeles at the time, and you know what I'm saying? Shit, I went out there to visit her.
So you went out there cold,
because I trusted her. I knew her. You know what I'm saying? Like this was my, you know what I'm saying? Eventually end up, you know, becoming my girlfriend and all this type of stuff. But this was my friend at the time. So yeah, I did apartment hunting, all that on the phone. You know what I mean? And I trusted her when
let me ask you this, because I've never actually been asked you this, right?
Yeah.
What is your brother saying? Like, what is Block saying? Like, what is Tasha saying?
Block is saying, do it. Get out of here. Get out of here. And don't look back. You know what I mean? And like my brother is one of those folks I think that was very instrumental in me and Mark's journey, because he was the older cat that had already went through a lot of things that we were on the way to going through. You know what I mean? Dealing with niggas, smoking blunts, doing the same shit every day. So definitely shout out to Block, because he saved our lives by basically saying, bro, this shit is whack as fuck, bro. You don't even know what life is. Because my brother, and we actually gonna have Block on the podcast. We got to bring Block on the podcast,
sure,
because he used to run around with
be a regular
Khaled. Yeah, for sure. But he ran around with Khaled. He ran around with Sons of Man out in New York. Ran around with Khaled in Miami. Early Khaled.
Atlanta, early AG.
Early Khaled. I'm talking Terror Squad Khaled. You know what I mean? And I can't wait for Khaled to see this, because he gonna call in and shit. But yeah, going back to the Cali shit, bro. Yeah, I believed it. You know what I mean? And I think that Entourage had a part in doing a part in that. I think you had a part in that, because you weren't like the friend to be like, oh man, you should probably stay. You know what I mean? You was always like, shit, dog, let's get it. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
You know, it was a vibe. And California is when, you know, when things changed, I want to say, at least from my perspective and my purview.
I think it'd be great for you to tell the story, right, of just really like the birth of Broccoli City and what was happening around you, that the immediate that gave you to Broccoli City, right? Because I think that leads into like future episodes, but I think it'd be great to just start with like you saying it in the bar, right? And then leading to you getting to Cali and like the characters around.
Yeah, so the name Broccoli City, though, have been rock. It's so much stuff that we forgot, man. I mean, we didn't even mention my rap career, Mark, and how you was like the little manager for the joint. We didn't do none of that.
What year was that?
When we in high school?
College? I don't remember.
I don't even fucking know. I want to say we was maybe a year out of.
Man, say no to drugs.
I don't even remember, man.
Let's be honest. Let's say no to drugs. Like, let's not do it. Like,
marijuana is a trip. Oh my God. But anyway, long story short, I was a rapper for about 5 minutes. and I had said a line like, yo, da 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 da, Broccoli City, right? Like, and that was our little name. The Marcuses of the world, they knew Broccoli City. Shout out to Demon L in the studio. Demon L was like our little producer cat. But yeah, Broccoli City and the name stuck. And then going back to your point, moving to California at this time was it was two things. One, it was the blog era, and two, it was the streetwear time. You know what I mean? So streetwear is obviously the hundreds. I remember, Marcus, I remember you putting me on Johnny Cupcakes. I had never seen Johnny Cupcakes before. You put me on Johnny Cupcakes. But long story short, I used to talk to Mark every day.
Crooks and Castles, they was big.
Crooks and Castles, they was huge. You know what I'm saying? That was the first people I met, was Crooks and Castles. But I remember I worked in this store on Melrose, where they did consignment. You know what I mean? Where you could like bring clothes in. I had never heard of none of this stuff. You know what I mean? And every day I'm calling Mark like, yo, bro, this shit is crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I say all that to say that.
And real quick, at that time when he's calling me, I am,
bro, you back in Greensboro. This is before you moved it. Oh, well, hold on. Yo, we got to do this again because our timelines are just.
No, it's actually great. I mean, it's actually ill because it's really like helping me think through a lot of stuff that we just never would have got to.
But I mean, honestly, like,
there's so many great episodes because we actually been through so much. Like, I remember a time period where me and B talked so much during the daytime where he would call my job phone, right? And this was after you worked at Workman at a little consignment shop and you started working as a PA. And I remember this was like pre-GPS and you were having to print out the
map.
The map directions. You know what I'm saying? And like you running around LA, like driving around, like on some PA shit, moving shit around. I remember that time period good. I don't remember when you first got to LA and you were working at the store as much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, were. I don't think that you and I was talking every day like that at that particular time. But you knew I was there. You knew I lived around a bunch of dancers. You know what I mean? All the dance cats, but they was like cool, but they was dancing. Like it was a whole new culture shock for the kid. But going back to your point though, it was a lot of stuff bubbling at that time, right? And shout out to your point, we need to do a whole California episode, and I look forward to bringing a lot of those cats on the show. But it was just a time of fucking. Bruh, niggas was doing it, man. People was fucking doing it, bruh. The t-shirt shit was cracking. The hundreds was moving. Bruh, the Fairfax.
I guess honestly, it was the genre of like urban streetwear.
Bruh, Terry Kennedy.
Culture.
You remember Terry Kennedy? Shout out to TK. Terry Kennedy with the skateboards and all that type of stuff. Pharrell with the ice cream.
What was the white dude that had the series on Vimeo? This pre-YouTube.
Maestro Knows. We actually did an episode on Maestro Knows. Yeah. We're going to be able to put the link or show a little video with that. You know what I mean? Shout out to Maestros too. And shout out to Dom Kennedy. Because Dom Kennedy, Dominique Hun, I fool with you, Kingdom. I get to LA. I hear rumblings of this dude named Dom Kennedy and this song, Strawberry Sunday or some shit that he had. But Dom was the man. And I remember reaching out to Dom and asking him to connect me with Maestro, and he did it in 2.5 seconds. And I'll never forget you for that, Dom Kennedy. I fuck with you. And Dom Kennedy, you actually important to our story because you were the headliner to our very first festival. So might have to have you on here, Dom. Shout out to Archie too.
Actually. He be big for the LA episode.
Yeah, they good dudes, man. But yeah, it was a time of people doing it. And I think that one of the things that time gave me, and I think that's what's happening now with a lot of young kids, is belief. You know what I mean? Like I believed it because when I'm seeing these people, and this ain't no shade to none of the people I met, Mark, but you remember I would call you and be like, bruh, I just met the dude who started Blase Blay.
I remember.
And basically what I was telling you was this nigga walked just like me. He talked just like me. His hands moved just like me. It was kind of like that moment of like breaking that glass of fantasy and real life. You know what I'm saying? Like now that I think about that shit hella deep, my nigga. Like, yeah,
you know, it was an interesting time period. I mean, I think what was real dope about that shit was, you know, getting a chance to finally get out there and seeing you right? And you living in that same apartment that
Yeah, we got to put
everybody
them
that
pictures.
moved to
We got to
LA.
show them pictures that I had Mark on the step and repeat, son. And yo, I just seen the dude the other night who got me for all that money. But whatever, we'll talk about that later too. You remember I paid all that money to be on that step and repeat? You don't
Um,
remember that year with the t-shirts? Oh,
uh,
I can't wait for this episode. But go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
so
Oh man,
like,
we got
I
some
think
shit. Wow.
I think what was ill was like to finally go out there and go to like the center spaces and all these different spots and run around and
Yeah.
like really get a chance, to your point, see cats, because again, like we still cats from Greensboro. Like we 30 seconds from Greensboro. So like just seeing some of these different people from like the Nick Cannons
Bruh,
and
and
like
this was the beginning of all these people, yo. Like
facts.
Karochi, like she was in our parties and we got photos and all this stuff to prove this stuff. Like, and they good people to this day. She actually came to the festival, you know what I mean? I think 15, 14 or something. Shout out to her. I just seen her brother the other day too. But I say all that to say, to Marcus's point, like it was that time. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think the Kendrick Lamars of the world. You know what I mean? Like, all this stuff is happening at this time because the blog era is popping too. And the blog era was a huge, huge part of when we start talking about parties and all that again. The blogs was how you got the word out. So, like how I'm running around back in college, if we go back, putting the flyers on cats' doorsteps, now it's like, oh, I got to get this on this website. I gotta get it on Not Right. I'm calling Mark. Yo, gotta get this on Two Dope Boys. Who was these cats? Meek Dot? I bet. And I remember seeing him at a party, running down on him. Shout out to Mika, because he always held us down. Shout out to Meek Dot.
Yo, how did you end up meeting? What's cause that we ended up doing the festival, the first Broccoli City Festival, which was called Global Cooling.
Oh wow. Yeah, so Fred McNeil, Gavin McNeil.
Gavin,
Shout out
damn,
to
my
both
bad,
of those
Gavin.
brothers. We gonna have them. We gonna have them. Nah, it's all good. We gonna have them on the show for sure, man. Shout out to them brothers, man. Great brothers.
But I think that's an important transition, because I think you meeting up with them, obviously I knew they knew Dom, like they were plugged into the LA scene. I think they gave you quasi Broccoli City LA roots, right? It gave us some LA foundation, right?
We not stupid. We not dumb. We knew. That's the one thing that I will say about us, right? Like, is we never wanted to come in anybody's city. We knew that we weren't from here. I knew I wasn't from there. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna get somebody that's already like doing their thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? To partner with, and that's why. And shout out to them because they partner with me with no hesitation. You know what I'm saying? Like, bet, let's do it. And I am on Two Dope Boys right now. And shout out to Mika. Yo, shout out to y'all, man. Like, the shit go all the way back to the Fabulous video when we had the Fabulous interview. So shout out to Broccoli City TV. We used to do these little videos before this shit was popping. Let me check the date on this. June 25th, 2009.
MyFabulousLife.com, BroccoliCity.com. Y'all know how we do, man.
I remember him saying it in the video, Broccoli City, what up? You know what I mean? Street Fab, what up? Come on, son. We knew we made it, son, with the Fab video.
I remember that shit, because that shit ended up getting on Bossip.
That was the one.
Yeah,
that was the one. I'm about to look at this right now. Y'all don't understand at the time.
How many, nigga? I couldn't hear what you said. How many?
Oh, it only had 4,579 views. But at the time, though,
that's viral.
My nigga, in 2009, come on, bro. And this wasn't even one of our biggest videos, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
That was a big
Go
video.
back. Let's go back through the whole story that y'all heard from me and Marcus. We didn't talk about our love for hip hop, none of that type shit. But being a nigga from Greensboro, North Carolina, you gravitate more so toward New York rap. Being from Greensboro versus a Charlotte, where you probably gauge down more south, it's knowing that you can make stuff move. Like that, these are the moments that had me like, oh, because Fabulous, bro, this Desert Storm, Marcus.
Yeah, that's
bro, I've been listening to Fab since I was a Yuki, like,
Fab was big. That was a big moment. I mean, to be honest, like a lot of that video content is what gave people the confidence to even when 2010 came and you like, yo, Mark, we're gonna do this event with Fred and Gavin, right? We're gonna do it downtown LA, Earth Day celebration, global cooling, right? Which ultimately becomes the first Broccoli City Festival. headlined by Pac Div, Dom Kennedy, right? That to me was able to happen because of the presence that was built online. Because
For
at the
sure.
end of the day, like, the events really were documented all through video, which was, to your point, it looked like we were like cutting edge because all these websites were posting our shit. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna say it. And I love for people to go in the comments. You can challenge me, whatever you want to say. Broccoli City invented the event recap, yo. I'm gonna say it right now, bro. I'm gonna stand on business, as these kids say. I'm gonna stand on fucking business, and I'm gonna find the one. You know what I mean? But I truly believe, to
Nah,
Marcus's point,
it's a couple ones. Like we had
bro,
a couple ones. Oh
bro,
my god.
The Dom Kennedy from West
Yeah.
Side with Love launch party. Like, bro, we was going and videotaping these little events in the name of Broccoli City for years, bro. Like,
But let me ask you this: at that time, what clubs is popping? 2010, like who the made men out there? Who active?
you and I, shout out to you and I, shout out to my brother Thurs. Thurs was the motherfucking one. Him and Yo, they was the ones. You know what I'm saying? You and I, they was winning all the MTV shit, everything. And they always showed us love. So shout out to them. And I actually seen them both like rather recently. So big love to y'all. They was doing it. Dom was the man. I think Casey Veggies in them. Shout out to Anwar. You know what I mean? You're going to see a little broccoli carrot thing happening here pretty soon. So shout out to Anwar. Gavin and Fred together. Their thing was the LAX Paper Boys.
Yeah, Paper Boys.
They was doing their thing. I can't wait to put Gavin and them on here. Now Gavin is responsible for the Supervision brand that you guys may have heard of. But I got connected to Fred because I think Fred went to like Howard or Morehouse, and Fred is Gavin's older brother. But anyway, that was that. Who else was popping, Mark? BJ the Chicago kid. Right? BJ the Chicago kid. What up, nigga? Huh?
BJ the Chicago kid?
Bro, he was on our very first festival, man. Our very first block party.
No. But I'm saying, when you say popping, I'm saying like on the promoter entertainment side.
Oh, on the promoter side. Sorry.
Is this Greystone? This is
no. I apologize. After. No, but that is around that time. So I gotta say a big shout out to my man G Viddy. You know what I mean? Live Elevated. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Live Elevated. For those who was in LA, if you know, you know. If you weren't there, you weren't there. You can't fathom what my man Jaron and his company did when it came to just taking pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they were the first company I saw build a brand.
Yeah,
like the first company I saw build a brand off
shout out to G.
Pictures and content. Like,
shout out to G. And also shout out to Jerry Lorenzo. And this is Jerry Lorenzo before the Jerry Lorenzo that you guys know from the illustrious brand Fear of God. Jerry Lorenzo was a party promoter in Los Angeles, California. You know what I mean?
What was the name of his company again? It was
JL Knights.
JL Knights.
Yeah. And the homie Young Julian was a part of that. Shout out to Julian. Oh, the LA episode is gonna be wow.
It might be a whole LA series now that we thinking through it.
You know what I'm saying?
It's too much to put in one episode as I'm thinking about it, right?
Man, bro. Yeah, but anyway, relationship building, you know what I'm saying? Making it happen, young men.
Let me ask you this.
It was an empowerment in the air.
Who are a couple key things I want to get out of this episode?
Okay.
How are you eating at that time? Like, are you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the is this katana? Like, what's the go-to?
Oh, what am I eating?
Yeah, like what's the go-to spots? Or are you just trash? You're broke as hell at this time?
I'm broke as hell. I'm calling you and I'm in Taco Bell. Like, it is terrible. I remember it was like fucking Carl's Jr. or something up the street from the crib. I always had a little bubble guts. Yeah, I wasn't eating. But I was in all the right spots. I was in all the right parties, all the right events at that time. But you got to think, we all 22, 23, 24. Yeah. This is even before everybody got signed. That didn't come to the next year. So, like, everybody, even like I remember getting emails about, like, folks from the TDE crew. You know what I mean? From, like, a Gmail. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, folks was building at that time.
It's interesting because as this is happening for you in LA, I'm in North Carolina about to move back to DC. Right?
Everybody going to sleep now, Mark. Okay. Go ahead. Tell your boring ass story. I was waiting for niggas to log out anyway. Go ahead, nigga. I said, boy, well, when B was out here living, I was in North Carolina. Nah, go ahead, son. I'm like, you had a nice crib, though. You know what I'm saying? I remember that little crib you had when you was working at the bank. Was that time?
Yeah. But no, that was in Greensboro though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I remember. Don't skip over
Greensboro.
that part when you was at
Oh yeah, I was the bank teller, motherfucking the black bank, mutual savings bank. That shit was like the worst ever, bro.
Come
Like,
on, man. Don't say that on the thing. You can't blast black businesses on the.
no. I wasn't. I'm not. I'm saying just it wasn't the business or the company. It was
Oh
just the
yeah, it was
fact
just
that I
you.
was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was
Terrible.
just the process of just being at that joint that was just like, yo, I can't even believe I'm waking up every morning doing this. And it's like they were taking that shit so serious, right? And at that time it was like I needed a job. Like I was trying to like get to DC and get it like a real gig and use my degree. Like I was on that type of shit. I had been running around, you know what I'm saying? Like
But
I had
didn't
been
you
on
live in
my
DC before, and then you had to come home?
yeah, it was only for like 8 months. I had worked for that Tom James company, you know what I'm saying? Selling suits,
I
you know
would
what I'm
love for
saying?
you to dive into that, and I also would love to you and dive into why DC. Like you could have moved anywhere in the whole world. I never understood why you even moved to DC, and I know you
I
my whole
mean,
life.
anybody who went to A&T know the connection between A&T and the DMV. You know what I'm saying? Like when I first get to A&T, the women that were on campus, no, not let's not even talk about the women, but the style of the DMV stood out so strong on campus that it was undeniable, right? From the little, you know what I mean, from the head wraps, the little bandana ties to the, you know what I'm saying, they always having the phone posits to the 3-6 Mafia to the box joints, you know what I'm saying? Like
Looney
it was
Tunes
just
sweatshirts and all that. What up, man?
Sucos, Sergio Valentes, like they were the first people who I would say when I got on campus, it was like, oh, hold on. Like once you knew a person or like what that profile or what DMV folks look like, it was like you could just see them and just
Spot 'em
know what
from.
it is.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? And so
Shout out to
like
my man John. I have mad people from DC. Shout
100%.
out to John. I
You know what I
see you in
mean?
a
So
minute.
between like they
Oh,
had hella like Auntie at that time, and they had some like super baddies. Like it was like undeniable. So that was always a thing. But also the DC niggas, they smoke good. They smoke, you know what I'm saying? And so like that was like the easy connection. I was hanging with a few cats from DC and they hoop too. So like that was really like an easy connection. And so when I thought about moving somewhere, that was where I knew people at. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like I could move and be able to call Shorty, call a couple cats. I knew where to get some weed from. You know what I'm saying? And it was popping. Like this at that time, like this is like when I moved up here, this like prom Thursday night shadow room. This is fucking Tuesday night. I don't even remember what it was. Like the Josephines, the shadow rooms, like this pre-park. You know what I'm saying? Like the city was just, man, that shit was like legendary. And this was also like change clothes. Like this
wow.
Jay-Z time, change clothes time as well,
Wow.
right?
That's
So
crazy.
like being in the town and it being about like, oh, dress up, put your button up on and your jeans, like that shit was like they OD'd with that
They
shit.
took that so serious, bro.
Yeah, they
Oh
took
my
that shit
God.
super dead ass serious. You know what I'm saying? So like even like the day parties used to be like just stupid. You know what I'm
Ooh,
saying? And so at that time period, DC was ill because as I'm talking to you and we doing stuff there and we're giving away so many t-shirts, people aren't paying to get into the parties, but it's all the right people.
for sure.
Like we're online. Like if you like I had rep in DC from Broccoli City because the online presence, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like was that
Yeah.
strong that it was like, oh yeah, like okay, that's the Broccoli City cat. Like there was real like value proposition in that conversation that to be honest, like, you know me, I'm a finesse. I'm gonna take full advantage of the situation, you know what I mean? And I mean, I think that was just a wow. It was a lot of good ass promoters out here at that time. Like,
I think that was important for you to be around that. I think to
yeah,
your point,
it was some legends. Obviously, the
me
legend
being
Mark
around the
Barnes, Marcus
creatives.
Has,
Yeah, you being around some of the strongest promoters in the
It
fucking
was
states.
from Dave and Ray. They was a
Oof.
little bit older than me, like maybe a year or so older, but they was legends. Like Dave and Ray had some shit, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure they probably still getting to the bag, whatever they doing, but like they had some shit. They had some good ass parties. Like it was a lot of groups that at that time, man, DC was crazy, man. This town was so loose, like
Yeah.
it was just so active, you know what I mean? Like Howard Homecomings is crazy, like Yard Fest still crazy. Um the jobs, like cats got good ass jobs. Everybody making 60, 70, 80,000. Like this shit was just like that shit
I
was
remember you schooling
crazy.
me to that, just a different culture in DC and how people had jobs. Because in Los Angeles, these
Man,
cats ain't
cats
had
was
no jobs. You
trash.
know what I'm
Like
saying? Cats was
we were
consultants, whatever.
never making money in Los Angeles. Like, but it was like undeniable that we had to do it because you could see the traction being created by the events,
For
by the
sure.
pictures, by the
For sure.
like just the movement of the brand. But at the end of the day, like, really it was just foundationally how we was just creating these events and it was just
And if we
working.
keep it real, Mark, I'm glad you had stated your story because it was never the brand. You know what I mean? I hate to say this. It was mostly us
Yeah,
at
it
this
really
time.
was
It's
us.
like, yo,
You know what I'm saying?
'cause we move into different cities. You don't even know me as Brandon from up the street, or that's Tasha brother. That's
Fact,
that Broccoli City dude. You know
fact,
what I'm saying? And to Marcus's point, it's like, oh, that's that cat that, you know what I'm saying? That's
fact,
that Broccoli City dude. And ugly dude, but he's an
fact,
ugly cat that
fact,
do Broccoli City.
fact.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, but I think
That's good.
I mean, as we just kind of starting to just close out this first episode,
For sure.
give me
I'm working
like
on some sessions.
as the planning phase is happening and you thinking about the first Broccoli City Festival, well, at that time, Global Cooling. Tell me like what's your thoughts around like who are the partners? Like obviously we got Gavin and Fred. But like what else are you thinking? What else are you doing? Like, cause I think it's a lot of stuff that happened. Like the D perks come into play. Like a
It's
lot
so
of stuff
much, bro.
happens.
It's so much. But I will say, and I don't know if you remember this, Mark, but the very first website that Broccoli City had, it said for those who been fly. I don't know
Mm,
if you remember that. We
I
had a
remember
T-shirt
that.
and all
Yeah,
that
we
that
had a
said that.
t-shirt.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? For those who been fly. And for me, I felt like that to your point about the blog culture, it's like the blog culture was only on the blogs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Mm,
like, yo, I want to see these motherfuckers outside. You know what I'm saying? So I think that for us, it was about creating that community, and I think it goes all the way back to our beginning stories. It go all the way back to Miss Hilda and my mama Brenda in terms of saying, and shout out to Keon Brown, yo, I can make this happen. And only thing I need is my man Mark, and we gonna motherfucking make this shit happen. I remember going to them
mhm.
site visits. Yet again, I may have some pictures from that shit so we can put it up during the podcast. But yeah, bro, like for me, it was just about community. And people throw that word around a lot now, but I think it was like that music community,
For
this
sure.
kind of fly, cute women. You know what I mean? Like it was just
Yeah,
that
no, I
vibe.
mean
You know
you're
what
right
I'm saying?
though. Like the blogs, in terms of how we promoted it, because we ended up doing 1,000 people. The
Nah,
first
you
event,
did good numbers.
Global Clue and Joint, like it was 1,000 people, and
Yeah, for sure.
um,
We'll show
there
the
was
recap video.
so many relationships that were birthed from that.
For sure.
So many people that ended up being like long term relationships that maturated over hella time,
For sure.
like came from
But I
Kendrick
also say
Lamar was
this,
on that
Mark,
joint.
and I don't know if you remember this, and this ain't no shade to the hundreds or none of y'all. But I don't know if you remember me, like I had shot like an email or a MySpace message to one of them. I think I maybe had told you this. And not saying that dude curved me.
Damn,
I think I had
MySpace.
shot out to the
That's
hundreds or
wild.
something. And we had a Broccoli City MySpace too. Broccoli City 1983 was the MySpace. You know what I'm saying? But I remember like, and I'm not saying that these people, basically we had to create our own community because motherfuckers wasn't doing shit for us. And I think that for a lot of young people who watching this now, like, bruh, if ain't nobody doing it, bruh, create that shit yourself. And that's what happened. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at a lot of these brands, and this ain't no shade to these brands, but these brands weren't of this. We had the same interest in terms of loving hip hop and loving music, but to keep it frank, they wasn't black. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to say that, but they wasn't like, you know what I mean? So it's like, damn, and not hating on them because them niggas was mad cool or whatever the case may be. But
it
yet
was what it
again,
was. Yeah, it was.
yeah, it was what it was. When it
They
came
were
to
of
Gavin and
color.
Fred, these were young black men from Los Angeles, you know what I'm saying? Trying to do their thing. Like, and that was a powerful, powerful statement here in Los Angeles. From what I saw from the Lamert Parks of the world, shout out to my brother Melrose, you know what I'm saying? Mel from going and getting my hair cut at the Sharon. This is down, man, listen, bro, we was in LA. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I lived in the Valley and all these different places, but I was in Los Angeles, California. And like, it was a lot of strong black shit. And we from Greensboro, North Carolina. We from black folks. So I think it was dope. But it was amazing though that so many people came and galvanized toward it. And then, then we took it back to DC.
For sure. Nah,
yeah, man, great episode, man.
Great episode. Now we appreciate y'all already tuning in. We know we y'all gonna fuck with it. We really do got some incredible people that we want to interview. You know what I mean? Top people from restaurateurs from towns all over the country. You know what I mean? We got promoters. And
let us know in the comments too. Let us know who y'all want. If y'all got somebody in y'all city that we need to interview, that we need to talk to.
Who was popping in Indianapolis in motherfucking 97, you know what I'm saying? Like straight up. Like we want to touch all types of folks. So now this episode 1, you know what I mean? Text me when you outside the podcast, you know what I mean? Marcus Allen, Brandon McEachern, you know what I mean? Shout out to Broccoli City Studios for sponsoring us and producing.
Shout out Jackie, Naomi for our producers. Appreciate y'all. Hugo, you know what I mean? Thank y'all.
Drop some comments, podcast. Let us know who you want to see. Any questions? We on it. Subscribe, click below. Appreciate you.
We out.